Well, hello and welcome to Business Mornings, another trading day right here in the nation's commercial capital. Here are the top stories you'll be looking at this time. Now, starting with how the market performed yesterday, we did close in positive territory again this week. 101 basis points, that was added, closing at 151,456 points. That's for the all-share index. Driving year-to-date gains, that's the returns now, 47.15%. The gains seen in the market was due to rising, likes of Boer Foods, Transcore, First Holdco, and yeah, that's it, 151 after breaking 150,000. These are levels not seen before right here in this market. There you have it, 101 basis points there for the rise, 96 trillion. That's for the market cap. I guess this is the road to 100 trillion right there for the market cap. Let's look at the trading volume yesterday. We see volume that was better than the previous one, 551.92 million units traded, valued at 20.54 billion naira. We see the deals there, 27,456 deals. Let's look at the sectoral performance for yesterday's trade. Now we'll see the sectors. I believe the banking sector, that was in the green yesterday. If we also look at what played out in other parts of the markets there, we did see some of the top trades, the likes of Fidelity Bank, VDF Group, that was 39 million units that was traded. Fidelity Bank, 59 million traded. So definitely a good start for the week and the second trading day. We'll see if the midweek trade continues. That's later today. We'll see the top gainers there. All right, let's get a check on the oil market now. We see oil prices push higher for a second day today, rising about 2% at this point, 1.76%. That's for Brent crude, $62.40 a barrel. Maybe we're seeing a bounce right there in the oil market after, expecting that Brent would drop sub $60, but we're still seeing a recovery there. WTI crude, $58.27, still lower than $60, a big 1.80% rise there. So it's still the same drivers right there in the oil market, expectations for oil demand and geopolitics right there in the global oil market. So we'll see if we get back above 60, that's for WTI crude. See if that happens. All right, so other stories now. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited reported a sharp fall, and that's a sharp fall in profit, plunging to 216 billion naira in September. A big 71% drop from the 748 billion naira recorded in April 2025. According to the company's report summaries, profit rose by 1.05 trillion naira in May. That dipped to 905 billion in June, fell steeply to 185 billion in July, then recovered slightly to 539 billion naira in August, before sliding again in September. The report attributed the September decline to cost and tax adjustments, as well as reduced crude oil production linked to a 3-day strike by senior oil workers under Pengasin. So that's a picture right there. And it's earnings season, so we're going to be checking other listed companies. Most of the listed companies, hopefully at some point, the NNPCL actually gets listed right there. All right, to other matters now with food. The federal government is reaffirming commitment to South-South cooperation. Nigeria they're reaffirming their role as a key player in global agricultural collaboration, with the federal government pledging renewed commitment to the South-South and Triangular Cooperation, SSTC, an initiative designed to drive agri-food transformation through shared expertise, innovation, and sustainable partnerships. Speaking at the 2025 World Food Program in Rome, held to mark the 80th anniversary of the Food and Agriculture Organization, Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Abubakar Kyari, said the SSTC model has become central to Nigeria's agricultural development strategy, fostering knowledge exchange, technology transfer, and inclusive growth. Senator Kyari emphasized that the effective cooperation must be grounded in mutual respect, national ownership, and measurable outcomes, describing SSTC as one of the most critical pathways to food security and shared prosperity right there. And to other stories now, the House of Representatives is asking the Minister of Finance and the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria to submit a detailed report showing details of all federal government financial interventions extended to states and local governments outside the Federation Accounts Allocation Committee distribution since 2023. That's a fact. The House reached this resolution following a motion sponsored by Representative Abdulsamad Dasuki. The House is concerned that states have received several interventions and must be transparent and accountable in spending public resources. Take a listen.
The House aware that while these interventions are vital to addressing specific financial and developmental needs at subnational levels, the absence of a consolidated public record for these disbursements may undermine transparency, hinder effective oversight, and limit public accountability. The House resolves to 1. Urge the Minister of Finance and the Governor of Central Bank of Nigeria to provide to the House within 2 weeks a detailed report of all federal government financial interventions outside the FAC allocations extended to the states and local governments from 2023 to date, including the nature of each intervention, amount disbursed, dates, recipient entities, and conditions, if any.
All right, we'll take a short break now. When we come back, we'll get conversations on investments, investments in other climes at this point. Do stay with us. Well, across Africa and the Caribbean, small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, remain the true backbone of economic growth, from the bustling innovation hubs of Lagos to the creative enterprises of Bridgetown. Entrepreneurs are driving, change, at this point, trying to create jobs and shaping the future of trade. Today, we're exploring how Nigerian entrepreneurs can learn from Caribbean business models and what they can learn from us too, how both regions can share lessons in innovation, financing, and incubation to empower a new generation of African SMEs. Let's talk to Lady Denta Amwateng, the president and founder of GUBA. Great to have you on the show. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Fantastic. So, definitely we keep talking backbones of in Africa and, most African countries at this point. But we're seeing the same thing play out when we're looking at the Afro-Caribbean trade corridor. So, talk to me about why this is such a promising opportunity, for SMEs at this time.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity. So GUBA has been in existence for 16 years, promoting Africa and the diaspora. And when we look at the Caribbean, we mustn't forget that they are part of the diaspora. They are Africans. And so when you look at what is currently happening in the Caribbean, they mostly have tourism, which is great. But I think for us as Africans on the continent, we can look at opportunities in the Caribbean. They have access to 54 million people. So for instance, if a Nigerian person an entrepreneur has a business or a product, in Nigeria, they can do the finishing in Barbados and get it sent out to those 44 million people. And I think it's about time that we look at, technology, healthcare, education. We even saw that your president, Tinubu, got knighted in St. Lucia. These are ways in which we can bridge the relationship with the Caribbean. And I think it's a big opportunity for us.
And why would you say, this is becoming a very important topic right now? Is it because of what we're seeing play out in the U.S. and, major economies? We're seeing protectionism now, at the fore. Everyone's trying to protect their jobs in their country. They're trying to get more companies to come and, set up shop, like what President Trump is doing. Is that what's driving this, at this time with Africa?
Yeah, I think that, what Trump has done is actually good for Africa, good for us. It's made us sit up, it's made us look at our policies, it's made us look at relationships that we have with other countries. And so this is an opportunity for Africa to be looking at its relationship with the Caribbean. This year marked 400 years since the British entered Barbados. And 400 years later, Africa, we are going to Barbados, we are going to the Caribbean to look at opportunities, to look at trade. But not only that, we're also looking the Caribbeans to look at opportunities in Africa. And I think that's what we need to be looking at. Already, we've seen the likes of Ghana sending nurses to Barbados, Grenada have asked for nurses, St. Lucia, etc. And so these are ways in which that we can build on this bilateral relationship. It's visa-free. Barbados is visa-free for people in Nigeria, it's visa-free for people in Ghana, but it's not visa-free if you don't have a direct flight, if you have to go through the US, the UK. And I think that these are the conversations. I've seen that there's an airline that wants to, do a direct flight monthly from Nigeria. We're going to be doing a chartered flight from Accra to Barbados because we need to utilize this visa-free. And trade, if we're going to trade amongst each other, we need to make sure that there is that aviation or shipping or something that can make us be able to work together.
Yeah, I guess aside, trying to get Africa to trade with Africa, we need to be able to move around Africa, seamlessly at this time. But what specific aspects of the, Caribbean business environment, such as, access to finance, incubation programs, or policy support, do you think Nigeria can, adapt, or learn from?
Absolutely. There's a lot of potential in Barbados. Right now, they're even trying to reform their education system. There's an opportunity for fintechs to start up. In Nigeria, their payment system is not that great as what we have. There's an opportunity for the creative industry, filmmakers that want to do films in the Caribbean. There are opportunities for fashionaires, people that are doing fashion. They don't have this. I even had a conversation with the Prime Minister of Grenada, and he wants to have seamstresses and seamstress tailors to come to Grenada to set up, to be able to make products. And so this gives an opportunity for people on the continent to come and explore these opportunities. Let's do it before the Chinese and other people get in there first.
Yeah, and talking about the Chinese, you did mention, getting goods to the Caribbean, get it finished there, and, before sending it out. Looking at Africa, who do you think right now, which country do you think can compete with the likes of China, when it comes to, production and finishing up goods to send out to other countries?
Nigeria is perfect for this. You have the people, you have the resources. And I think that this is something that we really need to focus on. Manufacturing is so important. We have the numbers. And so I think that we need to be looking at this opportunity and how we can advance this, even if it's collaborating with ECOWAS and we making this a point to really build our manufacturing in West Africa. It's really, really crucial that we do this. In 1978, the Chinese were very particular about sending their diaspora out and calling them back. That's how China was built, because they called the diaspora back. And so we need to play that role and call our diaspora to come back and invest and build.
Right, and also get the right environment that also makes them feel comfortable, coming in back here. Are there successful examples of how, Caribbean countries have helped their SMEs, scale into, export-ready ventures that you can share with us?
Yes, I think, the event that we're doing is a 3-day event. We're looking at trade and investment. We're having a film premiere with Shola Sobowale and Stan Eze. The film is actually by Tola Odyssey. So we're going to be doing that because they love Nigerian movies there. Then on the second day, we're looking at investable opportunities. So Invest Barbados and Export Barbados are going to take us out to look at investable opportunities on the island. Then in the evening, we have a reception at the Prime Minister's residence. And then we have the awards the next day. So it's a jam-packed event. Policymakers are going to be there. We have the IFC, we have AfriExim, we have CANEX, we have all of these organizations that are coming to the event. And I think it's a real opportunity for us to take advantage of this.
Right, and definitely we keep talking about barriers to collaboration. What do you think are the current barriers right now for African and Caribbean entrepreneurs, and how do you think they can be addressed to help them have that seamless relationship, be it trade or whatever?
I think that, as soon as a country opens up and says, look, I want investors to come, I want our people to come, that makes it easier, makes the conversation easier. And I think we need to look at economically, politically, and also spiritually of the connections that we have and build on that. Barbados have said, if you look at Mia Motley, she's always promoting Pan-Africanism. And I think us as Africans, we cannot talk about Pan-Africanism if we're not including the Caribbean. It's vital. And I think that these conversations that happen right now is the best way for governments to take advantage of this. Rather than always looking at Europe and USA, let's look at the Caribbean.
Right, and can we also look at the Caribbean for funding? Because I know funding seems to be a major problem too for most African countries. How do you think we can fund each other without having to go out there?
I think I know that the likes of AfriExim are really pushing this agenda, and they are trying to fund a lot of organizations. I mean, they're supporting us to make sure that this event even happens. You've got the likes of Oakwood that are on board. And I think that, we need to have those systems in place so that it makes it easier for people to get funding. And I think those are the conversations that we're going to be having at the Trade and Investment Conference. We're looking at funding. We're looking at agriculture. We're looking at trade and investment. We're looking at all of these different sectors to see how we can make it work. And I think once there is a will, there is a way.
Yeah, and definitely we'll find that way at some point. Thank you so much, Lady Denta Amoateng. She's the president and the founder of GUBA. It was great having this conversation with you this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, we'll take a break now. When we come back, we get a sense of the state of digital asset adoption in Nigeria now that we're seeing the government now bring a lot of attention, to it, with President Bola Tinubu saying the judiciary should learn, about cryptocurrencies and digital assets. That's our next conversation. Just stay with us. Welcome back. Well, for years now, the narrative around cryptocurrency in Nigeria, that was built on, speculation, hype, and contentious relationships with regulation. But a new definitive study, the state of crypto adoption in Nigeria 2025, reveals a market that is far more, sophisticated, pragmatic, and resilient than anyone thought. Now we hear the federal government's formed a team to study stablecoin adoption. President Bola Tinubu asking judiciary, got a tongue twist there, that must embrace crypto literacy, to fight financial crime. So we're seeing a lot of attention right there on cryptocurrency, digital assets, stablecoins. To help us break it down now, we have Tochi Emerole. She's a marketing lead at Quidax API business, joining me right here in the studio. Good to have you.
Thank you so much, Ladi. It's been a while. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a while, definitely, and so much has happened.
Yes.
In the space in Africa, Nigeria, and the world right now. Cryptocurrency getting so much adoption, and if I cast my mind back to around 2016, 2017, reporting this market, there wasn't much government.
There was a lot of speculation.
Yeah, there was so much speculation. It was like the wild, wild west. Governments weren't really talking about it. Central bankers weren't really talking about it.
They didn't want to hear it.
Yeah, they didn't want to touch it. But now it's a different scenario. And looking at the report now on state of crypto adoption, you see that 26.3 million Nigerians actively use or have used cryptocurrency. 57.1 billion total trade volume between July 2024 to June 2025.
Yeah.
That's trade volume.
Yes.
Then we see Nigeria, a global leader in crypto adoption by population percentage.
Yeah.
Help us break down this report. It's quite interesting.
Well, when we started out this report, we did not expect to see the numbers that we saw. We had a bit of idea of the transaction volume. Now, mind you, this transaction volume is just from retailers, from people who are doing an average of 15,000 to 25,000 naira per transaction, and not even the businesses, who are pushing like crazy amount of money, to maybe their suppliers abroad and all of that. So it's about 1 in 4 Nigerian adults, and what it means is it's the typical Uber driver, it's the person who owns a salon. There are people who are using it for pragmatic purposes. So they want to receive money, they want to send money, they don't want to have issues with chargebacks, and they just want to simplify their access and their interaction with the financial sector and make it as easy and as seamless as possible. And so you're seeing people building wealth. It's showing that out of the 26 million, about 17.7 million are actively building wealth by, investing long-term in crypto, in stable coins, with USDT coming up as the highest in transaction volume across Nigeria. And surprisingly, you're seeing people receiving more than they're even sending. And yeah, that is very surprising.
So like diaspora remittance.
Yes,
kind of.
There's a lot of remittance going on. So Nigeria is currently a remittance economy for cryptocurrencies. And when you now juxtapose that with South Africa, you'd see that South Africa is an arbitrage economy where people are trading for profit. But now you come to Nigeria and it's just 14%, about just 3 million or so, who are traders. You're seeing 67% as investors, you're seeing 18% as pragmatic users who are using it for daily activities. And then, you know how we always have that uncle who says, oh, they just want to go and make quick money with it. It's the least now. And I mean, when crypto came into Nigeria, when people started knowing about it from like 2019, events started happening. The CBN had said, oh, this is not legal tender and all of that. At that time, it was majorly people who were trading. And all of a sudden, that has dropped because for a lot of them, it has now transitioned into something bigger, something more meaningful. So it's now for investment. It's now for transaction purposes. So now you're seeing institutional businesses integrate cryptocurrency APIs just so they can meet Nigerians where they are at. So
right.
Yeah.
And looking at crypto top users in Nigeria, we see 43% are students.
Yes.
85% earn below 250,000 naira monthly. 81% are aged between 18 and 34. 67% are male. So the women are not really playing with crypto, looking at that.
Well, when you also look at just the investment behavior for women, it's that they are less inclined to taking risks. That number was less. About 3 years ago, I remember reading a report from, I believe it was Chainalysis, and the women who were in any way interacting with cryptocurrencies was less than 20%. And so it's actually now on the rise, and that's proof of, even for the females, now seeing a certain level of stability with that sector, and it's growing. So I would say that the women are gradually adopting.
So that's increasing,
Yes,
even though we have more
increasing.
67%
Yeah.
male there. So, definitely did mention that most Nigerians are not trading. They're using it more for, payments, investments, and, all of that. But I'm wondering, is that because the crypto market is not as profitable as it used to be? Maybe 2016, 2017, they had the 10x's, 1,000x's and more, when you invest in the market. But it seems that has changed a lot at this point.
Yeah.
Even seeing that it's just Bitcoin that's really rising.
Well,
most of the time.
The others are rising, but the thing is, of course, with more demand comes more stability. When you see that transactions are flowing more in the market, you see that the charts move in a more stable fashion. And that's really just what is happening. When all of that was happening was, one person would come in, do a crazy amount of transaction, and there's no one to take it down, and there's just craziness with the charts at that time. But when you start seeing, even, when organizations go public and they're listed in stock exchange markets, in the beginning, when there's that initial pump of demand, you see that the charts are crazy. They're very crazy. And then over time, when the organization starts stabilizing, you see that even the charts to just show you that, okay, this is more stable. So I would say it's gotten to the point where it's more stable, it's more predictable, and that's what everyone wants. That's why you're seeing countries that are even now, listing cryptos as legal tender, as ETFs and stocks, where organizations can now give you their stocks in form of crypto. You're seeing El Salvador, you're seeing Hong Kong, you're seeing the UAE, you're seeing Singapore, you're seeing Germany. Of course, you're seeing the United States, right? So it's that now with trust, there is stability coming into the market. So that's what
right.
That is.
And I'm guessing with more adoption, I guess, stability would continue, into the future. But talk to me about the platform usage. We see 83.2% prefer centralized exchanges, 10.7% use the P2P platforms.
Yes.
2.6% use decentralized exchanges, that's DEXs, and we see Binance used by 79% of Nigerian investors. And talking about exchanges now, we've had a couple of problems, in the past with some of these exchanges, likes of Binance, before now. I think that issue has been solved. Then we had the P2P platforms when we, the previous central bank governor, we had issues with, the Naira and all of that. P2P platforms, that gave birth to P2P platforms in Nigeria, at this point. But we still see centralized exchanges getting more preference. Is there any reason for that?
Security and trust. So with centralized exchanges, I would also even say usability. So we had asked a couple of questions, and the highest poll was for security and trust. People were saying, we want to be here because we know that it is secure. It has more regulation on it. It's easier to use. The UI, the user experience in it is easier for just anyone to come in and to use. With the decentralized exchanges, it's more complicated, it's more complex. It's for people who are like OGs in cryptocurrencies that understand it. But with the centralized exchanges, you're seeing things like multi-factor authentication. You're seeing more adoption because anyone can just download these apps and they can use. With P2P, yes, there was a big rise. Especially when the CBN had said in 2019 that, this is not legal tender. And people had already at that point started adopting it. And the thing about product stickiness is when you adopt a product, it is hard to unadopt it, so to say. So because people had adopted it, it was hard. You just saying, stop using it wasn't enough for them. So they had to devise various means to still continue utilizing these assets. And so Binance at that point had just come into the Nigerian market and was offering P2P trades. So there was a crazy spike in people adopting the platform. Now again, because adoption had already happened, Binance leaving Nigeria did not exactly affect. Yes, there was attrition, obviously. A lot of them now started, adopting the local exchanges. But you would still see that there's still a lot of people who would tell you, I have another exchange, but and so now you're seeing, local exchanges now ensure that they also have their P2P arm for people who they want to stick to the P2P. P2P was built from a place of trust. Right? Someone is recommending someone. You will probably end up, chatting on WhatsApp or there's a chat platform in the app. So it was more humanized. And for people, that was what built the foundation for trust with centralized exchanges. So yeah.
Right. So I guess it's all about trust.
Yes, it is.
at this point. But talking about exchanges, I don't think, are we seeing that much growth when it comes to Nigerian exchanges? Because when you have to use a foreign exchange that's for cryptocurrency trading and all of that. That's almost like, sending out jobs, at this point. Are we seeing growth with Nigerian exchanges?
Yes, more and more you're seeing that Nigerians are adopting the Nigerian exchanges, because you would see a certain level, especially with the type of marketing that the local exchanges are doing. You would see a more personalized marketing campaigns that people relate to. And again, trust, because this is a sector that was built solely on trust. You're now also seeing people say, oh, okay, let me try this local exchange to understand how to use it, to know how to integrate it into, my portfolio. And so you're seeing a lot of that happen. I believe that, with more exposure with time, these things take time. Brand awareness takes time. With more exposure with time, with the events that are going on, with the connections that are happening, with even the regulators, coming in to want to be a part of this, the local exchanges are set up for success. And I would speak from the point of view of Quidax. We are seeing growth. And so it is safe to say there is growth and there is adoption to the local exchanges as against the foreign exchanges, which was the norm before. So.
Right, and talking about regulators, at this point, we know in the US, there was a lot of issues with when Gary Gensler was in charge of the Securities and Exchange Commission.
Yes.
Right there, most of the crypto companies believed the rules were stacked against them. So looking at the SEC Nigeria, the stance on cryptocurrency, virtual asset providers, and more recently the Central Bank of Nigeria. Do you think we have clear rules, right now when it comes to cryptocurrency, digital assets in Nigeria?
There's a lot to be done. I do not think that there's any country right now that has full set of rules. Truth is that things take time to stabilize. Even for the regulators, they're still in their learning phases. Hence the reason the SEC had started the ARIP, where they created a sandbox for some of these exchanges like Quidax to come in and to test out the environment, just to also have direct access to what market intelligence is and what user behavior is, to better understand the type of regulations that they should be bringing into the market, into the economy. I would say that there's still a lot of alignment to be done. When we had conversations with the regulators, they said they didn't have a problem with digital assets. Now they are finding ways to work together to come up with something more unified. We currently do not have that. It is that the SEC has something, but the CPN seems to not be very aligned with it. But with the current news, it seems like they are trying to get aligned with that. And I mean, government is of the people, by the people, and for the people, right? So if the market is showing there's adoption, you really can't do much about it than to find ways to align with the people. And I think that is what is now happening, especially with this current news where, the CBN governor is saying, we now have people that we have told to specifically study stablecoin adoption to understand the type of regulations that, we should bring into the market to ensure that we do not stifle innovation. So I would say that regulation is looking up as we speak.
And talking about regulation, also central bank digital currencies, are they still a thing?
Yes.
How much of a thing?
Is that a question for me? I can't speak on that, but I do know that it is a thing. And I know that I recently had a conversation at an event about a month ago with, someone who was trying to build something, and he was saying, I want to find a way to increase utility for CNGN. So he was trying to build out something that would ensure that people were able to tokenize using the
almost
CNGN.
We're forgetting about the e-Naira at this point. Now we're talking CNGN. Again,
a sandbox. You're going to push something into the market and you're going to see, the market determines your product. You don't. You will, for example, go and make rice and stew, and people want to eat rice and groundnut oil. You have to find a way to adjust. So I would believe that it's a case of them pushing things into the market to see user behavior, pull it back, bring something else, experiment. And when it shows that people are more aligned to this product, then you can scale. So I think that is what it is. So, we're no more hearing so much about the e-Naira and it's now CNGN. Well, that is what the market wants, and that is where the government is going. So
right. And do you think there are other countries that have more adoption, when it comes to their central bank digital currency?
Oh yes. El Salvador in 2021 legalized cryptocurrencies as legal tender. You'd see Germany, the European Union as a whole. There's a lot of other countries. There's Hong Kong. There's China looking to push out a couple of regulations. There is, have I mentioned Germany?
Yeah.
Singapore. So you'd see that there are, in fact, there's Canada too. So there are countries that are looking at, that are constantly pushing out regulation as they understand the market better. They want to, enable businesses. They want to enable the economy. They want people to be able to plug into this, because if they're using it, so why not just come in and make sure that they're using it in the right ways to also just protect the economy of the country. So yes, there are a lot of
at the end of
countries.
the day, the decentralization was supposed to be a problem for central banks. At this point, but we're seeing central banks now, trying to wrap their head around it, with the central bank digital currencies. Not sure how much of competition that is for the likes of USDT and USDC and the likes. And looking at your crypto asset trends, stable coins still the most used for transactions.
Yes, they're leading.
Likes of USDT, USDC, Bitcoin, mostly held for long-term
investments. Yes.
Ethereum, preferred for speed and low fees. Even though I know sometimes the gas fees get crazy on the Ethereum network. I don't know if that's improved. They have grassroots digital dollarization underway. That's also in your report. What's that about?
People are hedging against inflation. This is what the market is saying. It is what it is. Inflation it's happening everywhere right now, and people want to survive. In the case of Nigeria, if you are in a place where you have the opportunity to have something that is more stable than what you currently have in one way or the other, you would use it. Now, I don't think that there's any family now in Nigeria that doesn't have somebody abroad. So there's some sort of transaction going on. Because a lot of our businesses are importing raw materials, there are few, like in the mineral sector, who are also exporting. All of these are use cases where people need foreign currency. Now, with USDT, USDC as digital assets, they serve as middlemen for people to quickly and efficiently move from this local currency through that channel to the other foreign currency. And so you're seeing that there's a lot of that happening. You can't, you really can't control that.
So definitely that trend will continue, at this point.
For both the formal and the informal economy, it's grassroots adoption. It's that people are seeing utility for this. They don't have to wait 3 days to convert money from Naira to yen. They could do it in 1 minute. And so they would adopt, literate or not. Everyone is looking for something practical, something quick, something that helps to optimize their operations at the end of the day, either as an individual or as a business. So,
are we seeing collaboration with banks, at this point? Because at the end of the day, we're supposed to use the banks to send money out or receive, and they get a fee. The middleman, right there. But stable coins are disrupting that. Are the banks happy?
I can't speak for the banks. I don't know if they're happy about it or not, but I believe that with the CBN coming in and thinking about regulations, what that would do is that you would see a spike in institutional, traditional banking integrating stable coins. At the end of the day, it's to the advantage. The aim of every business is profit. You don't want to share your customers with somebody. And so if that means broadening your services to keep your customers, to attract more people, and then that's what you should do. And so with the banks and the people that we have had conversations with, it's that they are enthusiastic about this. We recently did an event, 1st and 2nd of July, where we were educating, it was named Crypto for Financial Institutions, where we were educating banks and people in the financial services about the use cases of crypto related to that sector. And for a lot of them, it was, for people who had the SEC licenses, you've seen them start integrating actively because the license, they're able to do that.
Right.
But when you see for people who, are regulated by the CBN, they're enthusiastic and they're on their feet and they're waiting. They're like, if this happens now, I am going to start integrating. We need this. We need to up our revenue. We need to increase our market share. And so, with now the CBN coming in, I hope that they're quick enough to push in those regulations so that these institutional banks don't constantly lose. Because now you're losing 26 million people and it's going to keep increasing.
That's a big number.
That's a big number.
26 million. All right, we'll keep tracking this adoption, see how it continues and how regulators and every party involved wraps their head around this stablecoin agenda at this point. Thank you so much, Tochi Emerole. She's the marketing lead, Quidax API Business. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you so much, Ladi. Thank you.
All right, we'll take a break now. When we come back, we head straight to the global space. What's driving sentiment there? That's in a moment. Just stay with us. All right, let's get a check now on the global economy. We have Inijo Mekwa with the details at this point of what's playing out, what's driving sentiment out there. How's it going?
A lot of things going on, Ladi. As usual, the U.S. Is very much in the midst of all of
involved.
It, in the mix, yes.
Right.
A whole lot of it, but I'll get to that in a bit. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Global News. We start from the UK, where British inflation and key underlying measure of price growth both unexpectedly held steady in September, according to official figures, offering some relief to Finance Minister Richard Reeves ahead of her November budget. The annual rate of consumer price inflation remained at 3.8% for the third month running. That's according to the National Statistics Office. Most economists had polled, and the Bank of England had expected it to rise to 4%. Inflation in the services sector remained at 4.7% in September, the same rate that it was in August, and below the forecast of 4.9%. British inflation will be the highest among the group of 7 economies in 2025 and 2026. This is the projection of the International Monetary Fund. They said that during the just concluded IMF, and that will be hampering the BOE's slow progress in cutting interest rates to help slow the economy. And a cyber attack on Jaguar Land Rover has cost an estimated £1.9 billion in financial losses across the United Kingdom, making it the most economically damaging cyber event in the history of the UK. This is according to Cyber Monitoring Centre, that's the CMC. The CMC categorized the incidents, which began in late August 2025, as a Category 3 systemic event on its 5-point scale. The attack forced JLR to shut down its systems and halt manufacturing operations at major UK plants, Hellwood and Wolverhampton, for approximately 5 weeks. The financial impact assessment is based on the JLR returning to full production by early January 2026. During the production shutdown, UK manufacturing output was reduced by nearly 5,000 vehicles per week, with each week resulting in a modeled loss of £108 million, according to JLR's UK operations. We move to the United States, where President Donald Trump's administration is preparing a new investigation into drug pricing practices among U.S. trading partners. The probe would examine whether the U.S. trading partners are underpaying for drugs, according to the report. And the investigation will be conducted under Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974, which gives the U.S. president authority to take action against foreign trade practices deemed unfair to American commerce. This move could potentially lay the groundwork for fresh tariffs again against trading partners, according to the report. China has overtaken the United States as Germany's largest trading partner in the first 8 months of 2025, regaining the top spot as higher tariffs weighed on German exports to the United States, according to preliminary data from the German Statistics Office. German imports and exports with China totaled 163.4 billion euros from January to August, while trade with the U.S. amounted to 162.8 billion euros, according to calculations. The U.S. was Germany's top trading partner in 2024, ending an 8-year streak for China. The shift came as Germany sought to reduce its reliance on China, with Berlin citing political differences and accusing Beijing of unfair practices. Trade dynamics shifted again this year, however, with Donald Trump's return to the White House and, of course, with renewed tariffs. Well, 6 months into Donald Trump's trade war, the resilience of Chinese exports is proving just how essential many of its products remain, even after U.S. levies of 55%. Every day, about $1 billion worth of goods is crossing the Pacific from China to the U.S., with the amount ticking up in September from August. Despite double-digit drops in the value of overall trade during the past half a year, some products have recently seen an increase from 2024, defying trade strains between Beijing and Washington. Still with the United States, that country is, and Qatar, the world's biggest producers of liquefied natural gas, they've jointly urged European Union member states to abandon a sustainability directive they say will affect the bloc's ability to import the fuel. In an open letter released, U.S. Secretary of Energy Chris Wright and Qatar's Energy Minister Saad Sharida Al-Kabi said that the EU and its member states must either repeal the corporate sustainability due to diligence directive or make sweeping changes that address their concerns. And reports indicate that India and the United States are close to finalizing a long-pending bilateral trade agreement that could slash tariffs on Indian exports to around 15 to 16% from the current 50%. Energy and agriculture are key areas of negotiation, with New Delhi likely to gradually scale down imports of Russian crude, which currently amounts to about 34% of India's oil purchases, in exchange for the lower duties on Indian exports. Well, the two sides are also discussing greater market access for non-genetically modified U.S. corn and soybean, while sensitive issues such as dairy remain unsolved, and meat also is involved. The agreement could provide tariff relief for India while giving Washington a new agricultural export partner as U.S.-China trade tension persists. And it's a new dawn in Japan. Their new Prime Minister, Sanai Takaichi, is preparing an economic stimulus package that's likely to exceed last year's $92 billion. And it's to help households tackle inflation. Government sources have revealed this. And they said that the package of more than 13.9 trillion yen, that's about $92.19 billion, marks Takaichi's first major economic initiative since the advocate of big fiscal spending. And it took office on Tuesday, reflecting her commitment to what she calls responsible, proactive fiscal policy. And it will be built around three main pillars, she says, which will be inflation, investments in growth industries, and national security. So we'll see how all of that go with the first female prime minister in Japan. Now, if you are, well, a beer drinker, this story will really interest you. Dutch brewer Heineken, they've warned that its 2025 beer sales would fall as macroeconomic challenges worsen, further downgrading its volume guidance after it was punished for a similar move a quarter ago. The world's #2 brewer and its rivals have been battling to restore lackluster volume growth for years, while brewers have largely been able to offset declines with price increases. Investors are increasingly focused on the amount of beer sold. Heineken's share slid more than 8% in July when it warned that annual volumes would be broadly stable rather than grow. On Wednesday, it said that it expected volume to decline modestly in 2025.
All righty, thank you so much for the details there. What's playing out in the global economy? But let's get a check now what's happening on Nigeria Stock Exchange. We see 152,737 points. That's the current trade right now, 0.85%. So I guess the ASI getting more comfortable at 152,000 level. Fidelity Bank, Guarantee Trust Holding, Custodian Allied, Chams, Lafarge Africa. Those are the stocks getting a lot of attention. Some of the stocks getting a lot of attention right there on the market. Thank you so much for watching. We'll give you more updates by 1:30 on Business Incorporated. Thank you for watching. I'm Ladi Williams from Anything right here at Channels HQ. Goodbye for now.